Hi, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of the That Which Binds Us podcast. I'm Jack, a co-host.
And I'm George, the other co-host.
What are we going to be talking about, George?
Today's theme is going to be about video games. This could go in a lot of different directions, but I think it's something that you and I both enjoy. And so I think wherever it takes us, let's go there.
Yeah, I mean, we've been playing video games our whole life. Especially just like growing up, you have a GameCube with 4 controller sockets.
That was going to be my first question. Do you have a favorite console? Favorite video game console? Because I think that will give really good context to the audience.
Yeah, I think it's impossible to strip the nostalgia from it. Mm. So like I played GameCube during the most formative times of my video game playing life. So GameCube to me has to be the answer. We had such an insane library of banger after banger on GameCube. And I mean, Xbox 360 classic had really good games, but nothing is going to be even down to our 14th best GameCube game was probably better than our top 3 Xbox games. So I think GameCube for sure is the GOAT.
I agree. I think it's way more consistent. Essentially what you were just saying, but way more consistent.
Yeah. And maybe we just got lucky. I mean, we didn't buy the shitty games. I remember going to a friend's house and they'd have Timmy Turner, the video game. And we'd be like, this sucks. This is so bad. Why did you buy it? It was obviously a bad game. Yeah. But then you go to our house and play 1080 Avalanche, a snowboarding game. And man, it's the best. I could still fuck that up right now. Mm-hmm. I could destroy records, I think. I also, until I found video games online, I thought I was so good at video games. Right? Yeah, I'd be like, oh yeah, I've got to be really good at the Super Smash Melee. I'm probably really good. And then apparently there's a huge competitive gaming scene in Melee alone. And I am not even anywhere close to where other people are. I think that was just because I knew I was fairly good in our group.
Right.
But yeah, it's gaming is different now. Gaming looks a lot different than it did in 2006.
Totally. Because what you were just saying, Super Smash Bros. Melee has a scene for it now. The internet provides so many resources
That's totally right.
for all of these games to just all these niche little communities take these games and optimize the fuck out of them. Yeah. And set records and just make it so deep, and it's really cool to watch.
So do you wish you had a different gaming experience growing up? Are you happy with the experience you have? Because I'll watch something or a YouTube video of somebody talking about their nostalgia for gaming, and they'll bring up all these games that I never played, and I'm like, I don't know, am I even a real gamer if I didn't play, Legend of Zelda?
That's always the one that comes to my mind.
I just didn't ever play that. Or what's the one with the Disney characters?
Kingdom Hearts.
That's a whole aspect of people's childhood that I just that was dumb. That was nerd shit. Right. But the games I played were legit. So I don't know. Do you those are a few I don't know if you can call them regrets, because no one was gonna let me play one-player Kingdom Hearts by myself
on the GameCube
when we were all sharing the GameCube.
8 of us boys shared.
But do you have any regrets like that? Do you wish you had a different experience with video games? Do you feel a little bit out of touch with the video game scene now that you didn't have the same experience as other people?
Yes. In the competitive Smash scene, which I frequently participate in, I am not normal in that sense that I didn't play Legend of Zelda or Pokemon games.
Mm-hmm. Pokemon, that's another one.
Yeah. All those one-player games, I did not grind. I grinded all the offline multiplayer games with my brothers. So that's why I was into Super Smash Bros. Because we could grind that game together. And so those are the games I loved playing.
Okay, so you mentioned something, and I don't want to just gloss over it. You are in the competitive Super Smash Bros. Scene in Wichita, Kansas. Can you give me a little bit of a brief, not only, and don't be brief, be 10, 15 minutes long. Tell me your history of video games. How did you, starting out playing FIFA and Madden in our basement, now end up playing Super Smash competitively in Kansas? You traveled for tournaments. You went to San Diego last year or something for a tournament. That's That is something we never even thought existed. And now you're just like doing it for fun. Tell me your story. Tell me how you got there.
It started how a lot of people in the Smash scene started. And it's funny because we all kind of have the same story with different characters in a lot of ways. Because it's exactly what you were just saying, that you thought you were really good in your group of friends, and then you discover a world where you're not the best.
You're actually pretty bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just like big fish, little pond. You get into the big pond, and it's another world. So that's how it started. Right after I graduated high school, I was really into Smash, but we were playing like Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
And
who's we?
This group, it was a very odd group. It was like my sister's group of friends that all went to the same church, and I was still living at my parents' at the time, so I was kind of around, and whenever they would have big get-togethers, I was a part of it.
Were you the best player of this group?
I actually wasn't. There were people who knew things that I didn't know. I didn't know you could even really, really simple mechanics that might not make sense to people. But in Smash, that I didn't know you could roll. And roll, when you roll, it's when you're holding shield and then you flick it one direction, and then your character rolls to the other side.
I'm just finding this out right now.
Yeah.
This is also new to me.
During this maneuver, you are invincible at the beginning. You're not for like a couple frames. Then in the middle, you're invincible for a long time, and you end up on the other side of wherever you were trying to get. So all of these little things like that are in the like directions of the game in the booklet that I just didn't read.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot of those type of mechanics in this group of people, and we were playing this game. So then, we all have different Smash versions of Smash that we all like, and
explain that a little bit.
There's Smash has 5 iterations, and one for each console. So Nintendo 64 had one, GameCube had one, the Wii had one, Wii U had one, and now the Switch has one.
Okay. And to just a brief explanation of what Super Smash Bros. is just like a collection of a bunch of different game IPs characters, like Mario, Donkey Kong.
Right.
And they're all fighting each other on like a platform.
Right. So this group of people, we all had different versions that we liked. We all were playing Smash, and it was a lot of fun. And so I told them all, I'm going to host a tournament. We're going to host a tournament, and it was in my mom's basement, and everyone else brought consoles.
Bro, this was one of the crowning achievements of my life, because I joined this tournament. Is this the tournament that I played in?
That was the second one.
Okay. But I showed out for tournament number 2.
You made a statement.
I somehow didn't get an invite to number 1. I think they were scared of me for number 1. But
so I hosted this tournament, and I remember all the rage was this one kid who streamed.
His gamer tag was all the rage?
No.
This kid was all the rage.
He was all the rage because people were telling me about him.
Yeah.
Because he streamed the game, like on Twitch, and
and
played a lot of this.
That's
game.
a level of legitimacy that none of us had.
No, because at the time, this is the summer right after Fortnite became big.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah.
Streaming is now becoming a thing.
Yeah.
That like you watch people play a video game you like, and they make fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's a game you love, and it's really cool. And so when I heard he was doing that for Smash, I was like, oh my God, he's going to like wipe the floor with all of us. And so we get there, and we all it's funny because we had one tournament of the GameCube version of Smash, one tournament of, there were all different kinds of versions we were having tournaments for. So it was just like the shittiest actually competitive environment.
Did we know, or would you have known at that point that there was such a difference between those?
No, I didn't at the time.
Yeah, to me, they were the same. It was the same version of the game. But that's apparently not correct.
Melee is chess. Every other one is checkers.
Really?
It's crazy.
And Melee is the GameCube one. The one that we grew up playing.
Right.
Yeah.
But
we had no idea we were playing chess.
We barely knew how the pieces
moved. Were throwing the chess pieces at each other.
We were cavemen. We were cavemen.
Exactly.
Yeah. We were barbarians. And so, okay, this tournament, we played, we had a bunch of different tournaments. It was so funny because we had like 7 different groups of people. There was like a group of high schoolers that were like, they had their guy who was the best. This church group had their guy that was the best. I had me, and then a few of like I think I was about to move in with a friend and a few of their friends.
Yeah.
And they had a guy that was the best. Everyone had a guy.
Just like everybody, let me bring my guy. Yeah. My guy's gonna wipe the table.
You haven't played my guy. He beats all of us. Yeah. He's good. And so it was epic. This just like coalition of people.
This sounds so amazing.
It was really, really cool.
I'm right here with you.
We were in the basement, and the finals ended up being the streamer and then one of the church guys who was really good. And we put it on the projector. They're playing on a projector, which if you don't know this about projectors.
I know this. I know that's a terrible idea, but.
Yeah. The just frame delay is really bad. Yeah. So the movements you make on the controller take just a little longer to reach what actually hits the projector.
Explain why that would be a huge deal in Smash.
Yeah, in Smash, there's just a lot of tight inputs that you have to make on the controller.
So when there's a frame or two delay to the projector,
yeah,
that's just amateur. That's fucking amateur.
But to us, this is the Roman Colosseum. It was so cool watching them battle it out, doing things that were really cool that I hadn't seen. And it was really the inspiration for me. I was watching that, and I was watching the group of people. It was like 30 plus people that I'd gathered.
So sick.
It was so dope. And we're all getting hyped because some people have one guy, some people have the other guy. It's just hype as fuck.
That sounds so.
And so
cool.
I loved it. And so after that, I started researching. Like, are people doing this? Like, that was really hype. Are people having tournaments? And people were having tournaments. So as I started watching YouTube videos about how to get better at this game, I realized I was not scratching the surface of what is good and bad. And I was really nervous to go to a tournament because I knew that I was bad. And so I showed up. I found this Facebook group, and I just showed up. It said 7 p.m. tournament starts, and so I showed up with a controller.
God, that's so sick. And you're a freshman in college at this point?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's so dope. And I get there, and the guy setting up the tournament is just the nicest guy in the world. Like, I think that's the thing that I just felt overwhelmingly. If there's any distinction between sports and video games culture, it's that newbies are so fucking welcome in video games, like environments. Yeah. Whereas sports, like you're not on my team if you're bad.
It's a grind just to play. Like you gotta show up for 3 weeks to prove that you won't play the first 3 weeks in sports. Right. Like you've got to show that you like want to bad enough. Yeah. There's a terrible barrier to entry.
Exactly. And there's no barrier to entry in video games.
Yeah.
So that was really what inspired it. I hosted this giant tournament. Started going to tournaments in Wichita, met a really great community of people that just love the video game that I also love and want me to, they helped me get better at this, and it was fun for them to be a part of that. And I got asked some questions because they're really good at this game. And they're not douches like in sports who are really good. They're the people that are good are douches. So I was just met with open arms, and I fell in love with it. And they're having tournaments every week, and I started going.
You chose Brawl, right? That's what you went through?
I started with Melee.
You did? Okay.
And the reason I started with Melee, because that was the only one that was going on.
That's what I would have done, because I was like, I grew up playing Melee. I feel like I'm the best at Melee.
Yeah. And this was all like 2 months before Smash on the Switch was coming out.
Okay.
So I knew in my head, I was like, I'm grinding for that game. I want to play that game. That's the new game coming out.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Yeah. Grinded Melee for a while. I was really bad, but I don't know. It's just, I didn't care. The tournaments were happening and it was fun when I did well, but it was just like so cool that I discovered this community.
Yeah.
And I knew I was preparing for the next game.
Yeah. So that's your video game story after high school. What I wouldn't have thought, like I remember growing up playing video games and like they were a big deal to us. Like we played a lot of video games.
Right.
I wouldn't have expected any of us to try and go and like play it competitively. You know, it was kind of just something you did to hang out with your friends. You know, you got friends over. What are you gonna do? We got 4 hours. Let's just play some video games. Like why not? None of us were ever. Nobody took it that seriously. You know, there might have been some hurt feelings and some bragging rights, but we were never like that intense about it. Yeah. So what made you go from that growing up, where it's like, it's never that serious, and then you went and you're like, I want to be competitive about this. Why the change? What was it that prompted that?
I think when we were growing up playing games, the games I never quite related to or quite loved as much as everyone else were sports games. I enjoyed them enough to play them, and I knew how they worked, and I understood them, and I enjoyed them enough. But the games I always loved were like the Nintendo games that were kind of weird. They were kind of puzzly games. I really enjoyed those games. So that's where I think I was waiting for a competition in those games.
That's funny because I basically just explained my experience and said that was our experience, right? So why did that change for you? That wasn't your experience.
No, I mean, like if you remember Super Monkey Ball on the GameCube.
Oh yeah,
that was the one game that I did actually take kind of serious. Yeah, like beating the levels.
Yeah.
And this is just a massive obstacle course game where you're in a ball trying to get to the finish line, and it's really hard in some parts. And we would all play.
Yeah, it's a lot of like balance stuff.
Yeah. And that's a game I took seriously and was like the only person in our community that had like be expert and like all this stuff because I like grinded it and I loved grinding that game.
Yeah.
But the games I didn't enjoy grinding were sports games. And I was trying to think of this earlier because I knew we were talking about video games. This is my theory why I didn't enjoy them very much.
Yeah, hit us.
This is kind of just a negative thing about sports games, so you're allowed to push back if you want to.
I might not disagree, but I might.
Okay. There's a lot of sports games that you're on a team. It's FIFA, Madden. There's a team of people, and a lot of the team that you aren't controlling are out of your control. You're controlling one character at a time, and a lot of the game is happening out of your control. And so for it to be competitive never felt good for me. I felt there was like a bit of randomness, and I don't know. I think that's it. I think I just couldn't control it enough for it to feel like I wanted to take this competitively seriously.
So that's I don't think you're wrong. I think there is some truth to that. I think the nature of how we grew up and all the siblings that we grew up with forced us to play those types of games because the ones where you control one person seemed, unless it was like a gun game, which we played a lot. We played a lot of shooter games. But the ones where you control one dude were typically one player games and not games you could play like what's called like couch co-op, which is, you know, in the same room in a group playing together, or multiplayer where you play against each other. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for that because you can't hog the GameCube. We have one GameCube with four controller sockets.
Yeah.
You've got to let everybody in, or else they're going to go tell mom, and mom's going to force you to let them in. So it's like, I think that's true. I just never got a taste for those type of games because I was like, I'm liking what I've got. I like playing NFL football, and I like playing soccer, and I like playing basketball. I like those things in real life too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I ever minded the randomness of the other players that you aren't controlling. And I think back then I would have said, that's why you're bad.
Right.
Because there always was one, like Toby, our older brother, was always the best FIFA player, soccer. And like he figured out a way to control the things that we couldn't control. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that's I guess my only pushback to that is that there are hierarchies, there are tiers. Like people do make it to other levels despite not being able to control all those people. And yeah, I think I would just say you're kind of right, but kind of wrong.
Yeah, I hear you. So on the topic of sports games, do you have a sports game that connected with you particularly well?
I don't know. I don't really know. I have like moments where I remember video games being so cool, you know, like I don't think I have a game that's like, oh, this game was amazing. Cause I wasn't like you. I didn't grind video games by myself just for the fun of it. You know, I liked the community aspect of it. I liked being around people. So when I think of like moments, it's all experiences I had with somebody. So for
100%.
One experience I have is like in Madden, we were playing. It was me against a friend of mine from high school. We were freshmen. He had spent the night, which was crazy. I didn't know him very well, and I just like asked him to spend the night because I was like, I want to make friends. I want to be friends with this guy. So we came and we had like we're high schoolers, but we had like a fort set up in the basement of like a pillow fort. And we're playing like Madden in this thing. And it was like, we played 12-minute quarters. And so this is like a 2-hour long one game. Oh my God. And it went down to the wire. It went to the last play. It was like 80 something to 70.
Is this like Madden 2004?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, yeah. Madden 2004 is just the most insane sports game ever created.
Michael Vick's on the cover, and he has like max speed.
Yeah, he's the quarterback. Literally impossible to stop. Everybody knows it. And I don't remember who he was. I was the Chiefs though.
Bold.
I was the Chiefs because I'm a Kansas City fan through and through. And his mom had just texted him and said, "I'm here," and he had to leave.
Wait, were you guys playing through the night?
Or... No, it was the next morning. I think we had woken up early in the morning to play or something. I don't remember.
And so you guys were playing this 12-minute quarter game, and his mom had just texted, "I'm here."
Mom texted him, "I'm here," and there's like a minute left in the fourth quarter, and we had just like spent 2 hours playing this one game. We're like, we gotta end it, or we gotta like finish out strong. And it was a 1 touchdown game. I had the ball. I got Trent Green of 2004 Chiefs fame, and I do one Hail Mary. I've got one Hail Mary. And I just say, Tony Gonzalez is up there some way. Fuck it. And I threw it downfield. Tony G catches it in the end zone to win the game, to win the 2-hour game right before Clay has to go home, my friend Clay from high school. And we were both pumped. He was so happy for me. We were like, this is so cool. This is amazing. Like, I just remember that moment being so like, we just poured so much time into this stupid, shitty game. And then, like, in the last minute, I did this thing that was whack. It was crazy. It was awesome. And then we just, like, bonded for just a minute, and then he had to leave or whatever. And I was like, I think I probably lived off of that. I think I'd, like, told people about that moment.
That has to be peak video game experience.
It doesn't get better than that.
Better, just, like, because that's still kind of in a casual environment.
Yeah.
That is in a casual environment.
Yeah.
But you maxed out what competitively you guys could do in that environment. And the payout was perfect.
Yeah, it was literally perfect. So, like, and Clay and I aren't even friends anymore. Like, we're not even close. But I remember that moment and being like, man, this rules. This is what video games are for, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, but I don't think back and think, like, oh, yeah, Madden 04, like, I couldn't live without that game. Like, it didn't matter. The game I played didn't matter. It was the context and the scenario that meant so much more to me. You know, another one that I think of that I bonded with you over was the Mario game for Wii. It was just called Super Mario Wii.
New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii.
Yeah. And this was up to 4-player, but we played 2-player game where you just try to get to the end. You're just defeating levels over and over. And in most Mario games, it's 1-player. So we never really played those. You might have played them a little bit, but it wasn't fun to me because I wanted to bond. I wanted to bond with people. Yeah. So I never played the 1-player games. But then this came out, and we can make it 2-player. So now we're both doing the same thing. We're both on the same team, on a mission. Yeah. And I remember that there was like a summer that we grinded that game.
We did.
And I wasn't a grinder. You were a little bit more of a grinder than I was, but like. Yeah. I was, we had like a deal the whole summer because in our family, if you're not the first to wake up, you don't get access to the TV or the video games.
Right.
Like the first to wake up, get it, and that's just the rule. So we had a pact that if one of us woke up, you wake the other one up, and you go and you play. It is 6 a.m. It's 5:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Wasn't early enough.
Better believe we're in there playing Super Mario Bros. Wii. It was the funnest summer of my life. Like I remember that so fondly. Same. But I don't remember the game. I just remember the moments. I remember, like, if you're about to fall off the ledge, you could put yourself in a bubble so you'd float to the top. So, but then if you are in a bubble, you're trapped in a bubble until your partner frees you. So we'd play this game and we're yelling at each other, bubble, bubble. And then as soon as you bubble, pop me, pop me, pop me, pop me. And that's all we did for an entire summer.
Do you remember though, if one of us, so like I'm about to fall off the ledge and then I bubble, if you were also about to fall off the ledge, you would bubble?
We would both bubble.
And if you both bubble, it's just like, it plays this do, and then you like lose. You both bubble.
You have to start the game over. So, and then that caused some fights because then it's like, I'll be bubbled. And then it's so natural to fall off the edge and bubble immediately. Then I'm in a bubble and you're running and you're like, fall off the ledge and you bubble and it's like, George, you can't bubble.
Another thing is the screen can't maintain both of us. So if one of us is going too fast, the screen will drag the other person. And if it drags you even for a moment, you're not expecting it, and you'll just get hit by an enemy or fall off a ledge. And that's another like point of tense.
It was like, I remember that. I don't remember the game. I remember the moments in the game. I remember the feeling of waking up early and playing with you. So like my experience with it wasn't even about like the mechanics or like trying to beat the story. It was just like, I'm just having a good ass time with my brother.
I love that game because I remember World 8, the lava world. There was a final like castle level that we like physically could not beat. I think we like put the game away for like
I don't know if we ever finish it.
We did, and I'm trying to remember if like I grinded it with someone else or if it was with you. I don't remember.
It was with me because then opened up World 9. It opened up an extra world, and they were like, "Screw this." We stopped playing. We didn't do World 9 because we had grinded so hard to finish World 8, and then it opened up another world, and we were like, "Nope, I don't want to do this anymore."
So you were talking about like experiences that like bind us essentially, and you're like waking me up or just playing video games early. Do you remember there was this summer day where we were playing Super Monkey Ball, and we were playing the game mode, like the racing one, and Ellie and Macy were playing with us, and we did a 50-lap race on this one track.
We were going crazy,
and it was either like it probably ended up being like 45 minutes of a race.
I'm remembering, and I think you'll remember this. We played this one level. This is the only level we played. We played Monkey Ball Race on, but there are two shortcuts. There's a short shortcut and there's a super shortcut. And Ellie could not get the super shortcut,
but she was consistent because she didn't go for it. She didn't fall off the ledge. You have to risk it.
If you risk the super shortcut, you lose about 10 seconds. But since you're going for that long, it
cuts like half the map.
And it's a big deal. So we're all loopy. We've been playing for 45 minutes, this one monotonous game that we're somehow still really into. And then Ellie gets it once and goes, "I just got the super shortcut, yeah." We thought that was so funny. And then every time for the entire game, anytime any of us would get the super shortcut, "I just got the super shortcut, yeah." And then we'd all freak out laughing.
But we all had, I think, our own jingle. Because,
is that true?
I
only remember that one.
One of them was "Superty doobity doobity shortcut." It was so frustrating.
How do I not remember that?
It was great. Because it'd be complete silence, and you just hear clicking of controllers. And then you'd hear like "fuck" or like "crap" or whatever we were saying.
We wouldn't say fuck. Yeah.
When you missed it, and then you just hear, "I just got this." It was really, really fun, and it was 50 laps of this. It was insane.
But that's to me is just like so beautiful. I could talk about that moment and talk about the bonding that we had. And like Ellie didn't play video games. Macy didn't play video games.
No.
But they like took an hour out of their day to sit with us and to like hang out with us. And I'm sure they thought it was cool for us to hang out with them too. But Ellie and Macy are sisters, by the way. We talk about our family a lot. And we're going to throw out names, especially when we talk about our family. But we have a million siblings, so we don't expect anybody to keep up. But Ellie and Macy are siblings. They're Ellie's younger than me, and then Macy's younger than George. And they never played video games. George and I played video games all the time together. That was like our thing growing up. And then we just like pulled them in, played this game, taught them the super shortcut, and then we all just like had a blast with each other for an hour. And it like there's just no better. I don't know if anybody could show me a better video game moment than that, you know, or like anybody could show me that there's a reason for video games outside of that moment. We're like, we're just fucking around. We're just having a good time and just being silly 12-year-olds.
For sure.
Yeah, it was so good.
For sure.
I could literally go back to ages, 8 to 15 and pull out all the video games that we played. Like, but then when I think it's just like the video game never mattered, you know, like that's why when I say that we had the top 17 GameCube games of all time just in our catalog, I don't think those games are that good. I think we just knew how to have fun together.
100%.
And
well, what like the example of this I give is it's not even a GameCube game, but was in Halo. We didn't play Halo.
We never played a game the way it was meant to play.
We did not play Halo.
Yeah, that monkey ball game, we raced. That was like an offshoot of a party game. Like, nobody was playing Monkey Race, but we found a way to make it fun, and we spent an hour on one level of Monkey Race that nobody played.
Yeah.
But yeah, we loved twisting games and making them our own, and that's a very Crewell trait. But
yeah.
Talk about Halo, because we fucked that game up.
Well, it's exactly what you're saying. We would get on a map that was pretty much an open surface and just turn the gravity to basically 0 and jump height to like 200%. And so you could jump the height of like a mountain, and then we'd give ourselves random weapons. So you had your primary weapon was random, secondary weapon was random. And so every time you died and respawned, you had a new weapon. And the other like setting we had was bottomless clip. So the guns you had never ran out of ammo. You never had to reload. So it was like incredible to get a rocket launcher with unlimited ammo, and we'd just be jumping through the air, essentially like flying,
breaking the game.
And then we'd get on vehicles, fly them around. Whatever shit we could come up with on the vehicles was hilarious.
Oh yeah. I think it frustrated some of our friends who did play those games
because we removed skill.
There was no skill.
All the grinding those friends had done didn't matter because we created a party game out of a like shooter game.
Yeah. Well, and I think honestly, that was out of a necessity because I'm 4 years older than you, and we played with all of our brothers, of which are 2, 4, and 6 years older than me. So it's like, there's a massive skill gap there for one who's been playing for 10 years and one who's been playing for one. I think out of necessity, we even the playing field. Yeah. But we did that with everything. Like even
I was just going to give an example that I think is really funny. In NFL Street Football.
That was exactly the example I was going to give.
Keep going. Because this game's incredible.
So Street Football. So what was fun about it was the year 2004 that it came out, which is also the Madden game that we had, was also 2004. So we knew every single player like the back of our hand. And Street is different because they're not wearing pads. It's a little bit more of a party game. Yeah. So
7-on-7.
Just gritty.
Just dudes being dudes.
And we wore that game out. We knew that game left from right. We played it so much that it got boring. It got boring playing it the normal way. So instead, we would draft teams of only linemen, only guys who are over 300 pounds. That was it. And they're all slow as hell. But it's because this isn't fun anymore now that we know how to play, now that we're good at it. So now we're going to even the playing field by giving us all nobody to work with.
They have essentially 0 speed.
0 skill at all.
0 passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why did we do that? Why was that fun to us? Why was that endlessly fun to us?
Personally, I loved making you laugh. So when I was like, even in those moments when you were drafting a team, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to draft 3 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Just to like see if Jack notices and see if he thinks it's funny. And then you'd laugh, and I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, that was worth it. That was worth me losing this game.
Yeah. So I loved just finding like shitty little ways to just make the game, just break the game. Make it like anything that I thought the developers didn't intend for me to do, totally. But I could still have fun doing. There's this ounce of rebellion that feels really fun. So that's kind of why I enjoyed it. It was to make you laugh and to feel a little rebelliousness toward the game. I would do that a lot in 2K when we played 2K.
Yeah,
which is basketball.
That's another game I was thinking that we totally broke the game.
Yeah.
But out of fun. Like, it was for fun's sake.
We would do, like, drafts of teams. And I remember it might have been, like, 2K12, maybe 2K11. I don't remember. But
2K is NBA basketball, by the way.
Yeah, and so when we were drafting teams, I remember one time my 2 first draft selections were Shaquille O'Neal and Yao Ming.
which is insane.
An impossible tandem.
They're both over 7'3". One is 7'3", one is 7'6". You don't need two guys over 7'3".
You can't dribble the basketball. So little shitty things like that that was just like funny, but I also knew that the game didn't know that was a bad tandem the game only knew that these are two good basketball players.
Yeah.
And so the game, when we would like simulate this season, the game knew a little bit. Maybe it hampered my team a little bit in the simulation, but not really, because they're both just good basketball players.
It still worked. It still broke the game.
Right, because the game is just like they score X amount of points in X amount of games, not how does this offense function on a basketball court. And so things like that also were really satisfying, that I was like, I see through you, game. You aren't actually realistic enough to know that this is a bad combo.
That was all we would always like. That's not realistic. That's not realistic. And that was always really fun to kind of like break the realism of the game.
Yeah.
So now that we're a little bit past the halfway point, there's a segment that we'd like to introduce into these episodes that we haven't done for either of the first two episodes, but we're going to start bringing them in every once in a while, which I think would be fun, especially once we start getting guests. George, can you explain the game?
Yes. The name of this game is Trauma or Drama. The segment essentially is we ask each other questions and we determine if our opinion or thoughts we have on the question or our approach to how we handle that question, if it's trauma related, which in my head, I'm gearing it toward more your environment. Was this a product? Are you a product of your environment in this sense? Is your opinion on that because of the way you were raised? Or drama, which is it you yourself, like you as a person and your personality, is that just you and your opinion on it? Or are you a product of your environment in that opinion?
So trauma is environment. Trauma is like, I was made this way by my family, by my circumstances, yada, yada. Right. Drama is I decided to be this way. I've made an effort, a cognitive effort to act this way towards this specific thing.
Yeah. Which I'm realizing I don't know if there's a right answer. I think ideally we would be saying drama in a lot of these scenarios.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think I don't know if I ever think there's a right answer or a wrong answer, but I think there's probably some things that like, yeah, maybe trauma affects that and it's not worth it to me to fix. Like it's so harmless that like, yeah, sure, it's fine. All right, so what's your question?
All right, my question is, it's a Saturday morning and you've got nothing to do. What is your opinion on playing video games? Are you excited? Are you anxious? Do you feel embarrassed that you played video games all Saturday? How do you feel? It's a Saturday morning and you play video games or want to play video games, but how do you feel about it?
Am I here now in my body in 2023, 27 years old?
Yes.
It's funny. I actually just talked to my wife about this, Maddie, because I had talked about how like there are a lot of things that I do that make me feel silly that I like feel dumb about or I'll like
continue to do.
Yeah, but I'll continue to do, but I don't show them to people. I don't tell people about it because that makes me it makes me feel silly for people to know. And that response of hiding myself or hiding this part of me, because I think people will think I'm dumb, that's trauma. That would be the answer. But recently, I've discovered that I think I've kicked that about video games, specific to video games. That the reason I say that is because Maddie went out with friends last weekend, and I played Roller Coaster Tycoon for 6 hours.
And I was proud.
It was so much fun. It was so easy to lose all that time to it. And you say you were proud. I was proud. I was telling Maddie all about I had a fun time and I was proud that I had a fun time. Like it was exciting for me. I think 2 years ago, I would have hid that. I think 2 years ago, I would have been embarrassed. I still would have done it.
Yeah.
But I would have been embarrassed by it.
Where does that embarrassment come from?
That I'm too old for it. That it's silly to want that. It's silly to spend your time doing something that isn't helpful or beneficial to society. I'm not giving anything to anybody. Even making art is something I can feel proud of. But like playing a video game, like what is that giving?
Yeah.
I think my personality or my intention towards that mindset has changed in the last year or so. So I would say
I'm realizing I asked you how you feel about it and not do you feel trauma or drama related?
So no,
I don't know. Just keep going.
My answer is drama.
Yeah.
My answer is I wake up on a Saturday morning. I go play video games. My relationship to that feeling is drama. I feel present and whole as Jack, as a person. I've decided to have a good time doing it. I'm not anxious about it. I'm not nervous about it. I'm not hiding that from myself. But I used to feel like, I wake up early on Saturdays. I think it's probably a holdover from when I was a kid, and I would like try to be the first to everything. But I wake up early at like 6:30 on a Saturday, and for the last 5 years, I think every Saturday, if I don't have anything, I'll go play video games. And I think 5 years ago, I would have told Maddie I was even watching a show. I think watching a show feels better than playing video games. Playing video games feels so childish. So I probably would have hit it for a long time. But now I think it's just like, it's just a fine way to pass the time.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because I think the trauma that you're talking about, like the embarrassment thing, is the way I feel like video games were fed to us, was like, you first have to do chores, you first have to do valuable things, and then you can play video games. And even then, I'm going to cut you off at some point in order to do valuable things.
Yeah, there's a scarcity to it. Like, you can only play it for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a little sweet treat that you get to enjoy, but you don't know when it's going to get cut.
So you never know how to regulate it.
Yes.
So if you can play for 18 hours, you play for all 18 hours until someone tells you to stop.
But you know it's bad to do that, and so you feel a little shitty if you play video games for 18 hours. But is it bad? Is it just your knee-jerk reaction? So when you were saying that, I was like, I 100% relate to that. That like, I'm a little embarrassed that I burned a whole amount of time playing video games.
I think that's my answer. Is drama, but it's a good question because it's only very recently have I changed from trauma to drama.
Yeah.
All right, my question for you. My question for you. Now, this can be either in competitive Smash or if you and I are playing a fairly competitive-ish game of a sports game.
Okay.
You lose. And maybe something unfair sort of happened. You know, a weird glitch in the game that makes you feel like, God, that it happens, but it shouldn't have happened, and it forced me to lose. You lose. Explain to me that moment for you in the context of trauma or drama.
That's a really, really interesting question. All right. If the stakes are high, I only let myself lose my temper when I'm alone.
Okay.
Like if I'm playing online games.
Just kidding.
Oh, yeah. So like if I'm playing online and something shitty like that happens, I'll be frustrated. I'll say whatever I want. I'll maybe grab a pillow and throw it or whatever. Like I'll be frustrated and emote that frustration.
Yeah.
If I'm with someone else and something unjust happens in this game, I honestly, it might be disassociative, but it's very like, that was out of my control. I know that I grinded and I know that I played well. It's hard to explain because I'm some of it's healthy, but some of it's like kind of disassociate from it and tell myself it actually wasn't that important to me winning that.
And do you think that's true? That's not that important to me. Is that true?
No, because it took so much of me it took all of my being to tell myself that. So clearly it was important. But I know that I've heard in the overall grand scheme of things that isn't important.
Yeah.
And I know that I can tell myself that. So that's really hard. I think I'm leaning toward it's a bit of both. Because the trauma of it is the situation is tense. I'm frustrated. I was involved. The best thing I can do is not feel anything. Yeah. And so that's my trauma response. And I think when I'm not regulating myself in those moments, that's where I go is, well, this doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
Yeah. I'm going to shut my brain off in the feeling parts of my brain.
Right.
So that I can get through this and not make a fool of myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the drama part, the part that is me that's working on it, if that's what drama in this context means.
That's what I'm taking it to mean. Is that right for me to take it to
I
mean
think
that?
so. Maybe that's the way we go. I think it's... I don't know. I don't think I have an interesting answer other than that. You just accept that it is that way, and that you got into the ring and you knew that was a possibility. I remember a good quote that I liked from a coach after it was in March Madness when the 1 seed had lost to the 16 seed for the first time ever. And the coach in the interview after was like...
The coach of the 16 or the 1 seed?
The team that lost. The 1 seed that lost. And he was like, we all know what we're getting into when we play this game. We know things happen. Like, there was always a chance for this to happen. And it happened. I don't know how he worded it, but there was this point of like, this is a part of the game.
Yeah.
And it's something I always think of when like refs.
We've all agreed to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was never perfect. The idea that this was perfect isn't part of it. Like, I think of that with refereeing, and we just got done watching a bunch of football games.
Yeah.
Refs make bad calls. And the only reason we get so frustrated is because we have this idea that sport is perfect. And the reality is it isn't perfect.
Yeah.
And we want it to be. We want, like, all of the championships that Michael Jordan won to be perfect. Like, the story that we tell. When in reality, his opponents probably got injured. His team was really good.
There's some context there that makes it a little less perfect.
Right. So I know how to tell myself all of these things that are like, this is a part of the game. And so I think that's where I go when I lose something like this. That's really frustrating. Something in Smash, I guess is kind of specific to Smash, but something that is really, really good, and it's a skill that it's taught me really, is that everything within Smash is very clear cut. All the ways to improve are very clear. In sports, it's not always that clear how to get better. Sometimes someone's just taller than you. Sometimes they're just faster than you and stronger than you, and there's just not anything you can do. They're just more talented than you.
Yeah.
But in Smash, every time you get hit, there was a reason, and it was in your control. It's kind of the same in like chess, for instance. Like chess is a perfect game that is like only skill. Like white has a slight advantage over black, and that is it. That is the only thing.
And that advantage is wiped out like 8 moves in when there's really no difference between who went first and who went second. Like
even if you're like pretty even in like skill, white's not always going to win. It's a very tight margin. So all that to say, Smash is really good at encouraging you to go watch the sets that you lost and look at the areas you made mistakes. So it was really healthy for me just learning how to adapt to certain situations. And it's something that sports never really taught me. Sports taught me to complain. Sports taught me to blame the refs.
Yeah.
Sports taught me to give the other team more credit than they deserve. They practiced harder. They're better. All of these things. Sports didn't teach me how to adapt. And like Smash and other video games have taught me how to adapt. And so when I'm really frustrated, going back to your question, I try to take it at that angle and realize that, okay, that thing was really unjust. That thing happened. There was a really small chance of that happening. I rolled the dice, and that really low probability of that thing happening happened. And that's okay. Like, I knew there was a possibility.
That was the agreement I went into it with.
Right. So in the future, I'm either going to put myself in that position fewer times or know that that's a possibility and it can happen. And I lost. So
that feels healthy. That feels like drama.
So that's where I go. And Smash has really helped me evolve that. Sports didn't help me evolve that very well.
That's really interesting.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's my drama.
That's a good answer. I don't know what my answer would be. I can think of moments where that's happened to me that I lose my shit, and that's trauma. But I think my quote unquote drama response to that answer now is just to like not take video games that seriously.
Right.
Which is also like we've allowed ourselves by having fun with it and evening the playing field and not being like you and I just played a few games recently where we were playing 1 minute quarters in basketball, and that's like one possession each per quarter, and that's the fun of it. It's fun, it's wild, it's chaotic, and I lost a lot, but like I at least am able to be like, that's not my fault, and we're just playing, and like, yeah, you beat me, but I don't. Am I gonna get pissed at losing this really wacky game that we just made up? Like,
right.
So I think that's it. Is I tend to make it wacky so that I don't get competitive.
Yes, that's a really good point. It's a scapegoat for whenever I start to feel frustrated. It's like, well, this was wacky.
Yeah.
This was never meant to be competitive.
I never put myself into it in the first place. So there might be trauma there, but like I just don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if I think of video games, and I've never played competitively like you have, except for that tournament number 2 that we only briefly talked about. I'd love to get in that in the next episode, but the one that
you went off.
I went off. I got, what was it, 4th place? I think I got 3rd place. I might have been on the podium at the end.
You might have been, because
I lost to you to get to the final, but I think I won the 3rd place game.
This is what I remember.
Let's hear it.
It was top 4. Me and you played for 3rd. I got 3rd, and you lost to me.
Oh, I thought. I remember losing.
But the reason you got top 4 is because we did 4 tournaments into one finals tournament, and you won one of the individual tournaments.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was the Melee one,
which was Brawl. It was the Wii one.
Fuck my memory. I'm just gonna keep throwing out random guesses at what happened. And I played Pikachu. No, it was Captain Fucking. Yep, that's who it was.
But you won the tournament that was 4 players like at a time. It wasn't 1v1. It was 4 players at a time.
It was the wacky one. So it was the one that
it was
the
wacky.
Least competitive.
It was wacky, but you thrived.
That's right.
So
yeah,
I'm not trying to devalue what you did.
No,
because no. The other 2 people that were 1st and 2nd went to tournaments with me. They were a part of my Smash scene and I invited them. So it was us 3 and you
and me, who had no business being there.
So that is an accomplishment.
I remember that feeling of being like, I fucking belong here.
Yeah,
I did it. But I belong here.
I also remember playing against you, and I
took a stock from you.
You took a stock, and I remember playing just kind of like one of my fun characters, just kind of fucking around because I didn't want to be super serious about it. Like I invited a bunch of people to this tournament, and like don't want to be the guy who like
wins his own tournament.
But I played a character that I wasn't super comfortable with, and you like were scaring me. I was scared that I was going to lose to you because I was like, I could play a shitty character, but I still want to win. I would just want to make it close.
Yeah. And I made it maybe even a little closer than you wanted.
I had to work. So
yeah,
you can brag about that.
Yeah. Oh, I do. Okay. I do. It makes me think there's a lot of things that I'll do one thing right, and it's like, I could go pro at this. I could fucking do this. Well, guys, thank you for listening for this long. We're getting to the pretty far end. I don't know how much of this I'm going to cut out, but how do you feel? How do you feel about this conversation?
I feel like it was good. I could talk about video games forever.
Yeah.
There's games we didn't even mention.
Oh, my God.
NHL Hits 2002.
Jesus.
Medal of Honor Rising Sun. Mario Super Strikers.
Oh,
Soccer.
How do we not talk about Super Strikers? That is the ultimate wacky game where it's like you can't play competitively, but like, I think if we played competitively, you and I on a team, we could fuck shit up. Oh, okay. Man, you got me started. One of my favorite recent memories was me, you, Eli, and Matthias, our 2 younger brothers. It was kind of at the tail end of COVID, sort of, where you and I had started like just joking around streaming on Twitch. And we were playing Strikers, and all 4 of us were on the same team for the Super Strikers. It's Mario Soccer is what it is. And
4v4.
4 versus 4. So we had 4 guys, me, you, Eli, and Matthias. And so it was us 4 against the computer. And we did, was it maximum difficulty? Did we do maximum difficulty?
Yes.
We did, max difficulty on the very top, like, trophy cup. So we had to, like, win every game. And we did it. We got really far, and then we lost our very first cup. We lost the final game, lost the championship. And we're like, no, we got to do this again.
Yeah.
We got to do it again. We probably, 3 hours? We spent a few hours playing this game, lost. Or we probably spent an hour playing this game, lost, and then just ran it back. And we won. And when we won that game, oh, man.
We popped off.
I was 26 years old. This happened last year. And I was acting like a child again. I was like jumping up and down, screaming. Like, I've never felt that much dopamine.
Not anyone can just win the Bowser Cup.
The Bowser Cup on expert level or whatever it was. Yeah, we fucked it up.
Yeah.
And it was genuinely so much fun. But again, not necessarily even because of the game, but it's because it was me, you, and our two brothers just like having a ball with his wacky ass game.
Yeah. No, it was, and that's what it goes back to is those offline moments where there's a group of people bonding over a game, and that's what it was. Like, this is a game I always loved. Matthias and Eli didn't necessarily grow up with it like as hardcore as I did.
Yeah.
But they were involved with it and they loved it, and we were all celebrating when one of us scored a goal. If someone dropped their defensive assignment, we were getting on their ass.
We were on them.
Yeah. And so it was it was a team game, and we were communicating with each other.
So much communication.
Just this Mario soccer game. It was beautiful. And so I completely forgot about that memory, but I love stuff like that.
Yeah. Man. Video games. There's really nothing like video games.
It's, you name a game and I can name a story.
Yeah,
I can name
totally.
a moment I had with a group of people or you, just something where I was like, but you remember that when we did that?
And it will be one of my favorite memories growing up.
Yeah, it immediately takes me back to that moment. So, video games are beautiful.
I wish I want to spend 30 more minutes talking about video game stories.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
It's so good.
So you guys didn't hear it, and I'm just going to be full transparent. We started this podcast, and George's first thing was saying, this is like both of our favorite things of all time, video games. And I corrected him. I was like, I don't think it was that big of a deal to me. And we cut it because it was dumb. And now I'm like feeling kind of apologetic for telling him that wasn't true of me. Because the more we talk about video games, the more I think all of my good memories growing up are video games. Like, I think now my relationship to video games is a little different because I don't live with a ton of people who I play video games with. But growing up, like, it was how I communicated with people.
100%. And it was in the household we lived in that was a lot of people, a lot of change. Just it wasn't the most stable house.
Yeah, it was a little chaotic.
It was very chaotic. And video games were something that was dependably good no matter what. You always had 6 a.m. Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
No one could take that from you because no one was up. And we always had these moments that we could enjoy. And it was just a dependable, good thing that I could rely on.
Yeah.
And I knew how it worked. I was safe. And so that's why I relate to it so much.
I think a lot of the chaos, there was a lot of discourse, a lot of people like fighting and arguing, and us too. Like we as siblings would argue, but when we played video games together, like I just don't feel like I argued with you much. Like we would gripe and complain about certain things, like don't bubble pop me.
Yeah, but like Lego Star Wars, when we're trying to get True Jedi and we have to get a ton of coins, and one of us is shitting around me, and we fall off the ledge and lose coins. That's frustrating, and you're allowed to be frustrated.
But we're never mad at each other.
No.
We're only ever coming together over that game because there's like a shared goal. And that's something else I want to talk about today. It's like video games that we would play where everybody's on the same team. That doesn't happen often. There's a lot of like Madden. I was playing against my friend Clay and I beat him. So it's a little harder for him to celebrate my win. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when me, you, Matthias, and Eli won the Bowser Cup, we're all celebrating. We're all high-fiving and hugging. Like,
we're all hosting that trophy.
There's something about being on the same team, especially in a house growing up where it felt like in order to get ahead, you had to put your sibling down.
Right.
But then when we go and play Super Mario Wii, where we both have the same mission, once you win, once you get to that flag, it doesn't matter how much we were griping and complaining at each other, we both got to the flag. And we're pumped about this.
Yes.
We're just fucking psyched. And that's like, video games do that. There's really not a lot of other stuff that does that.
No.
So yeah, I think I formally apologize for saying that video games were not that big of a deal to me, because like it was a huge thing to me.
It was a huge thing, and it was so good, and I think I found a lot of like escape in it as well. So there's negative aspects to it. Like anything, but the good, I can like dip my toes in those waters forever. Like you name a game and I know a moment. All of my best memories are also when we were on a team working towards something. Yeah,
I think there aren't enough games that do that. There's a lot of games now where you fight against people. And
yeah.
I think you're right that a lot of my favorite memories were when we're on the same team. Well, thank you guys for reminiscing with us.
We might have to do a second episode.
I genuinely feel like we left a lot out on the table that we didn't discuss. Thank you guys for listening. If you made it all this way, I can't imagine that you did, but if you did, I'm really grateful. But this one was kind of just an episode for us two to talk and feel comfortable and get pumped about.
Bask in the glory that is video games.
Yeah. I think a lot of times I especially you, the listener, will probably notice that I talk a lot of shit about growing up and how life was just like very confusing for me as a kid growing up. But just this, it's like, I did have good, like, I had really great moments growing up that gave me a lot of happiness and a lot of joy. And it's not at all surprising to me to realize and discover that they were happening when I was with people, and specifically with my family, like with my siblings. Just really, really great moments of togetherness and love that I don't think I could have had in any other channel other than video games, I think.
And video games are that which binds us. So thank you all for listening. I fucking nailed that. And
so we're gonna good.
And I hope you tune in next episode. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. You were sitting on that for so long.
So long. I was waiting to crank that one.